Hello. We've just been having nice debates about D&D weapons and rules and things. How is everyone? We're here for a nice little bit of D&D time. We've been talking giddily about how good D&D has been recently, so I am pumped to play some more now. We don't have our poor little dungeon dad today. The internet is out in like all of Nova Scotia apparently. So we can't really blame him.
Oh, yeah.
He showed us like a like outage report, and it's just a big blob.
It was really good.
Especially when you consider how big Canada is.
Nova Scotia.
That blob is probably like the size of England in outage.
Close.
As
Not
England, not
England,
UK.
Yeah. I still think close, but probably not close.
I know it's easy to assume it's all the same brilliant thing, but there is Scotland and Wales to worry about, unfortunately.
Oh dear.
So, why don't we... Oh, thank you, Tesh. I like that.
I was doing the thing. Everyone dance now.
Well, it's definitely not a thing. Why don't we describe what happened last week, and why don't you do it, Tesh, as punishment for dancing? I don't fucking know.
Damn it. Okay. So, we were continuing our quest to cure and figure out what was going on with this plague. We went down we found out all the water was contaminated, but especially at the main fountain. So we went down a well in the center of the main fountain, paid a guard 10 gold to spend a couple days there.
He did, to be fair. He wasn't happy about it, but he did it.
We fought a Umber Hulk, which was bad.
Couldn't have gone better if I'd planned it.
We fought a goblin camp with a hobgoblin leader.
Yep.
Who had a particularly nice shield.
Magical shield.
Yep.
Brute pocketed.
Brute now pocketed.
Who else uses a shield?
Maybe he'll remember to use it. I don't know.
No, that would be just way too easy.
Then we kept going down, found the source, which was a body in the water supply. So managed to get that up, and then spent a couple of hours cleansing it while we
doing a nice big magical ritual. Yep.
Root and Eleanor did that while we protected them from many spiders.
Many spiders.
And then we found out. Oh, we also found out that there was a town official when there's not meant to be town officials. That was
you got a description of him from the hobgoblin. Very important. You got a description and used illusions to basically get a
character art,
a character art crime scene photography from it, which is a good idea.
I've been wanting to do that ever since I got Minor Illusion. This is the first time where it's been like the perfect chance to do it.
It's useful.
And then we went back up, saw the poor guard that we've made wait for days. And then now we got to figure out if we're gonna have some. I think we're gonna have some downtime.
Yes.
Figure out what happens.
So, when we begin, this is going to be a session, at least at the start of downtime. Barut basically asked for a chance to write out his book properly and send it out over the world, thinking that this and this town is the best place for him to do it. It being a naval community, admittedly far away from most of the world. But it does mean that he can get the book sent out, he can buy all the supplies, you're going to have your imp Nix help you, which is going to cut down the time by half. So, as long as you're willing to pay the price, you can spend many weeks writing out your book in full, and sending that out. Now,
I believe we said 200 per city that I was going to be
200 per city you're going to be sending each message to. And I believe you've made me a list of places.
I have, and I will read that out for your convenience. I'm going to be sending 2 books to Northendon, 1 book to Lendir, 2 books to Crimson Mountain, 1 to Bastillion, 1 to Aradia, and 1 to Thundrel. That is 6 cities, and it will be 1,200 gold.
And that would be 4 weeks
Yes.
of downtime. So a whole month. Are you just gonna live in the tavern, or are you gonna like try and find a little place to stay while you're there? It doesn't really matter, but what does matter is your quality of living you want while you're taking downtime, because I'm gonna charge you basically for the month now, and if you want to make more money during that month, that's. No, I'm gonna charge you by week because it's easier to split it up by week. But I usually consider that being adventurers who care about comfort to a degree, you usually live a comfortable lifestyle when you're buying food at taverns and things. And for an entire day, like for an entire week of comfortable lifestyle, will cost 14 gold. It's slightly above average, but that would cost, count having a comfortable place to stay, fairly big tavern rooms, plentiful food and drink. You can go cheaper than that, which would be half the price. You can go more than that, double the price. You can go even cheaper. What kind of quality of living do you want while you're taking these downtimes, ignoring what you're going to be doing for now?
I think we'd probably just keep our quality the same, I would assume, but I don't know. Virik might have a different opinion of what he wants to do if we're doing downtime, given that he's the luxurious boy.
If we can sustain ourselves by what we are making here, via like Tobias's like
Pit fighting
bullshit and our like donations from our healings, if we can do that and like not take any of our own pocket, that'd be preferable, I think.
Yeah.
Well,
It's one of those things where optimistically you should be able to afford comfortable. Optimistically.
And then like we could dip into our own pockets like if we have to,
Agreed.
I mean, realistically, Virik would probably want to go for a little bit more. If they're going to be there for a while, he'd probably go for that a little bit more expensive.
If you want to spend 4 gold
gotta
a day, which would be 28 gold a week. Let me describe. Comfortable is a comfortable lifestyle. You can afford nicer clothing, maintain your equipment, have a small cottage in a middle-class neighborhood, or a private room in a fine inn, which is what you guys have. Wealthy means you have a life of luxury, but not social status. So, you have a highly successful merchant. You might have servants. You might even be able to help people, get people to help you ask around the town, afford to send a few coins off to the, children to, ask questions around and things like that. Comfortable suite at a fine inn, small staff, or get yourself a little room somewhere else. So it's up to you, Virik, if you want to live in a bit more luxury. If you want to have the penthouse suite while he's a floor below.
I think, honestly, Virik probably would. Because if he's going to be here long, might as well.
If there's a day of staying in the same tavern room and being this is going to take a while.
Exactly.
Hell yeah. Okay, so 14 gold a week for everyone, but Virik. I'll also take that off Tobias's character sheet because he probably
he's
spent
so 100.
Just do it for week by week because it's entirely likely that you might break up the time, depending on what you find out. So Tobias's character sheet. Tobias Dunman, minus 14.
So 28 for me?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so downtime. A week of downtime. Downtime works in weeks. Just to easily gloss over everything that happens, although we can zoom in into individual moments when you want. I did that a little too long. We know what Barut needs to do. Barut is going to sit there writing out books with Nyx. The process is a little more magical than you might expect. Lore keeping his own book to basically print out the final proper copies with the help of Nyx. The 200 gold would include the plentiful amount of ink and paper that you need and leathers to bind it and everything. Is just one stop cost for everything. But you're pretty much set apart. If it ends up being that you take days apart to do anything, don't worry about it. But you're set. Aelinor, last time you discussed it, you basically want to spend your time healing the sick from the plague, right?
Yeah. Also, we're gonna get the word out that it was the water, so if anybody has any water they have stored
Yeah.
anywhere,
Get rid of it.
I will also offer to purify that.
First few days especially, I will actually be helping Eleanor in the morning before I go and do my writing. Just to get a bit more
Okay.
expedition on the healing process.
You know what I'm actually gonna let you do for this, Eleanor? I'm gonna count this as religious service. Instead of just going, you go and do it.
Oh.
You can give me either a intelligence, religion, or charisma persuasion check for... The fact that you're going out and healing people, that's gonna happen. This is like the fame and the getting your point across of like, throw out your fucking water, you idiots, and stuff like that.
So we're gonna do persuasion.
Yeah, it makes more sense for you.
Because I actually don't have much in religion, to be honest. I'm
Well,
paladin, I kill things. I don't-
Exactly, you're a
educate
Viking.
people.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty great. So, I will say with that, over the period of this week, you have like 10 casts a day with Help of Brute or whatever. You can go through curing the disease so much faster than anyone else. Before it was
how
one
much
person a
it?
day. We don't need to worry about the specifics because you're just going to spend downtime doing it, and the people you focus upon first of all would be the people who are suffering from the cracked plague in such a degree that they've wrapped themselves up in bandages to cover their broken skin and things like that. And whenever you cast your curative magic on them, all that damaged skin flakes away and grows anew, and they are incredibly thankful. You're not really getting much in the way of coins in return, but what you
Which
are
is
getting...
fine. I wouldn't even ask
exactly, right? Because these people have not been able to work because they've been so sick. But what you are getting across is your message. When you're telling people that it was the water, people are genuinely listening more and more. People ask how you can do such a thing, and you give a vague response because you just kind of do it.
Yeah, no, I'd just say that the spirits of my ancestors and the spirits of the north of a country you don't even know about grant me these powers.
Exactly. And you go around healing the worst of the ill during this week, and the town is starting to fill with less and less plagued individuals, which is going to only grow over more weeks you do it. Now, the interesting one, the one that's kind of the most... Aelor's doing the most important thing. Let's get that sorted right now. Saving lives. The most interesting one is Virik. What is it you want to do with your first week of downtime?
Okay, so if I remember it, this is like a sort of trade town because of the ships coming in and out?
This is a small... So from what you've learned and what Baruch's told you, Palamaro is a mercantile trade town that is not connected to the rest of Zalstella in a political way. Its business mostly comes from trade coming in and supporting the ships and the various things that can keep going in the town, like trapping of creatures and the clay and things like that, and making ships occasionally.
Okay. Well, I think one of the things that Virik would probably do is spot the wealthy traders coming in and see if he can't nab a little bit of extra coin to help add the extra luxury.
The way we do downtime is you do one thing. As much as realistically Virik might be doing multiple things, it's so much easier to just go, this is what you're focusing your week on. So, luckily, there is a description in Xanthar's Guide to Everything, which has the downtime rules I use, called crime.
Okay.
You can just straight up spend a week focusing on committing some crimes. So, you spend 1 week and at least 25 gold gathering information and then committing your intended crime. Now, there is a level of risk you can choose when focusing on crime.
Ooh.
The first level of risk is simple merchants. This town is mostly simple merchants, cobblers, tailors, things like that, who are going to have more gold than most people in a town like this, but still, and would probably pay for your expenses, but it's not going to give you a good amount of pocket money. But it's the easiest to do. They might have a couple of guards, probably good locks. You don't worry about locks. The next step up would be prosperous merchants, maybe people who actually have connections to the outside world or outside Zestella. The kind of people who maybe own a couple of businesses or work in the most important shops in the town. Above that would be the robbery of a noble. Now, there's not really true nobles in this town, and let's just say you only want to stay in this town. But there are those people who are retired here after lives of mostly piratery, with hefty amounts of gold, who have some degree of sway or are living in isolation. So those would be there. And then there's the final level of risk, which is the richest of the rich. The kind of people who know that they're targets. Which of course is the most dangerous. Now, this will be 3... So first we need to decide your the level of risk you want to take. And you can spend your resources. Just checking. So there's some there's some downtime things where you can spend money to get modifiers. You can't do this. It is going to cost 25 gold of just paying people the right amount of money, paying people to look the other way, you know, carousing, browsing. And then you can tell me the amount of risk you want to take.
Okay. So Varric wouldn't go for the lowest one because he doesn't want to, like... These people may still be well off considering, but they're the people that are making an honest living and just that. So... he wouldn't want to mess with that. I don't think he'd want to go for the... He definitely wouldn't want to go for the top of the top, because that's real dumb.
So you're between, 2 and 3.
Yeah, and I think probably he'd start with 2 and see how that goes.
Okay, great. So you're going to go to one of the, you know, someone who's clearly connected to trade routes and things like that. So, I'm going to need you to give me 3 checks.
Okay.
First of all is a stealth check.
Yep. Can I... I'm guessing I can't use any of my spells or invisibility.
It's assuming that you are. You know, this is a bigger heist than just one job.
Okay, so stealth?
Yep.
Boop.
It's a good roll. Now I need you to give me a thieves' tools check. If you don't have thieves' tools, just dexterity.
Oh, okay. Yep. Oh, wait, that's a save. Ignore that one.
Yep. Good, because that was a garbage roll.
And then there's that roll.
And then it's the player's choice of investigation, perception, or deception.
Deception.
There's almost always a natural one when players are doing crime.
I love it.
It's
every time. It's every time, and it's so good. Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
It's K.
That
I can...
is you backing out of the situation as much as possible.
You know, as an alternative to crime, you could spend this downtime training in thieves' tools, maybe, to be good at crime.
I mean, normally what happens with thieves' tools is I use sleight of hand, which I have +6 in, so it's not usually an issue. Like, this is the first time where it's been like, instead of thieves' tools, dexterity. I'm like,
yeah, because it's much more. It's much more abstracted and allows me to create a brilliant little story about just how fucked you are.
It's K. I probably looked like a wood elf while doing this, so I just gotta change that up.
Okay. So you go in trying to steal from one of the let's say a Tranite merchant, one of the people who has a good trade line with the island nation of Tran and mercantile states. And you heard Brute talking about it, and they're a trade country, so, well, they're definitely going to have a lot of gold. You manage to sneak into his little, estate quite easily. He lives on the top floor of a building, which has shops below it. And you do actually manage to steal quite successfully. Unfortunately, he managed to see you as you were getting out. And word got out. You weren't worried about it the first day. You know, you got a hefty amount of gold. But the second day you heard rumors of someone in the town looking for you, one of the guards here. And you've been all of you have been kind of looking curiously at the guard because there doesn't seem to be any kind of central organization for them. They just kind of seem to be doing their own thing. But very much from the rumors you've been hearing, and that's part of, paying off a little bit of money to people, the merchant called in a favor.
Ooh.
And has one of the guards looking for you. Now, you probably look like a wood elf at the time, sure. You know that if someone really is looking, that probably won't hold up to the worst scrutiny. But you do end up stealing 50 gold. Not 500, only 50. It's one of those ones where you were planning on grabbing and fencing more things, but when you got sawn, you vaulted out of the window, much like you have before. But there is a guard going around the town looking for you. You actually know his name. His name is Biffon. And he's looking for you in the town.
Okay. That is definitely more interesting.
So, before we get to continue, Mr. Tobias is going pit fighting. Okay. Mr. Tobias is going pit fighting. So as Josiah described last week, Tobias had a little bit of pit fighting experience in one of the taverns and was like, I'm just going to spend this week getting into fights, make some money, making some bets, having a good time. It's training. It's also helping get word out that you guys are kind of adventurers and things like that. So he is going to do it. This is similar, also needs to make 3 checks, starting off with a athletics check. Boop. Not nice. Then an acrobatics check. And a constitution check that has a bonus equal to his hit die, so it should be a +10. And I have to make the opponent. A lot of math. You know what, I'm just going to do this digitally because I'm lazy. Okay, not surprisingly, he starts off a little dodgy, but he ends up winning most of the fights he gets in the week. The thing is with Tobias isn't necessarily trying to win all that much. He gets in quite drunkard, has a good time, chains up fights where he's not really recovered, but does end up winning a good deal of coin in the various rings. It starts off in taverns, in the sailors' taverns, and later on in the week he finds out that there actually is a pit fighting community here, because most of the community of Palamaro is, sailors, retired sailors and whatnot. And it does actually end up winning 100 gold in the process, which I'll just put directly into his character sheet. And then we can start for next week as time continues. During your time here in Palamaro, where you've actually had time to really, experience everything, you've actually come to realize that it's quite similar to Slate Cove. The temperatures are very different. It's not quite as cold. It's a little more temperate. And of course, the plant life is very different, and the birds are very different. But it's got that sailing community. It's got a little bit of spiritualism to it in parts. But something that you all find quite endearing in one way or another as you start to spend more time amongst people, aside from Barut, who's already done all this like several years ago, is that Palamaro is made up of people who don't have homes. Very few people are making families here. It's mostly people who've ran away from the Zalstellan government that Virik has been hearing more and more about. There's been people who have retired after sailing, or maybe have bounties on their heads and have gone somewhere that no one's going to dare to look because it's just far away. The communities are all these mismatched of peoples, of those displaced halflings and half-orcs who don't find the mainland of Jarviskjir any degree of comfortable at all. And even people who come down from the forests and mountains to sell their wares, but really just live their own very quiet lives. You find it relatable in a way, especially as people who have been traveling a bit and don't have a home. If you're going to spend a good deal of time anywhere, this ends up being quite a comfortable place for you to stay. So, Barut, writing books.
Mm-hmm.
Aelor.
Morning trip with Eleanor.
Yeah.
Helping out.
Morning jog with Aelinor.
Morning, Jog.
Healing people on the way, and then...
That's actually very likely what you have to do, which is hilarious, and will just bring up more of how you're becoming part of this community. I've sometimes slipped and called this a city, but really it's a town. It's a large town, but most of the people, you know, they're in the middle of the town or at the docks or so in the mornings. So you're seeing the same faces over and over, and people are starting to know you, and you're starting to know, like, the local bakers and things like that. And
We're
look,
going to start the Palamaro Marathon next year. It's going to be great. Everybody's going to come out, high-fiving us all along the way.
You've always wanted to do a marathon, but in Slate Cove, people were like, why would we run? We might have to run from bears. We don't have to tire ourselves running for sport.
Exactly. Marathon.
True.
Eleanor, can
What
you
do
give
you
me
want to roll?
a persuasion roll, please, again?
Thank you.
The
Is that
same.
Yeah. So this time you don't need to tell people all about the plague. People are actually understanding quite a lot. You're noticing that no one new is really getting sick. You're just trying to have to cure the lingering infection that was from people who just drank some of the water and it didn't get too bad yet, or maybe drank from a more distant well, or maybe were splashing around in the water, whatever. New people aren't getting sick, and people are getting better of their own accord from not drinking the infected water. You're slowly starting to see a much more cheery Palamaro. When you came here before, it wasn't like the town was in a malaise due to the plague or anything like that. Most people just kind of ignored it. But definitely now knowing that it's not a threat anymore, people are getting a lot more calm and relaxed. And you actually get one nebulous favor from this, which you can feel free to cash in however you deem appropriate from really the town folk. Is the easiest way to put it, not necessarily the guard, not necessarily the noble, more just the common folk.
Okay. Can I hold on to that for now? Or do I have to give
Oh yeah, you can hold. You could either be like, spend it right now, be like, I want our costs spent for the week or whatever, because you need to spend your living expenses for the week again, or you can hold on to it for when you might need it in the future.
I'll hold on to it.
You never know. Varric.
Okay. So
I might have to break somebody out of jail, for example.
Varric is not dumb. He knows that something's happening now. So he's actually going to... He's wanting to spend the week making contacts in the town, specifically so that he has a web of people he can talk to and ask about things and run things by, and also alert him if Biffon is closing in.
Exactly. So this has actually got rules as well. I need to find it. I think it might be called carousing.
I would also show each of them, or like the minor illusion and any information of that person.
So these are two different jobs.
Okay, I'll do that.
One of them is making contacts, another one is investigating. Let's say you do the contacts first, because then you can be going, well, I'm going to these people, but they're not going to get the cops on me.
I'll do that first.
This is called carousing. Which is perfectly what Varric is basically doing this whole time. Now, there's actually a choice. You get to choose whether you want to carouse with the lower class, the middle class, or the upper class. Now, of course, this town has a very different type of upper class, but you can still totally do it. You'd be arranging with ship captains and black fur and stuff like that. It would be 10 gold a week to cover the lower class, 50 for the middle class, and 250 for the upper class. The people you meet will be of that class and will be able to help you of that kind of way.
It would be I would have been the low class anyway, I think.
Okay, so you need to give me a charisma persuasion check. And spend 10 gold to cover the beers and gambling and...
Oh, it would be 2, wouldn't it? Couldn't be deception.
So many good things happening.
The dice, they hate me.
Apparently.
Turns out Varric needs to be on an adventure.
Yeah.
It's K. I mean, can I offer them more gold?
No. Not this week. So, Virik, during the week, knowing that you have the guard Biffon looking around town for you, admittedly as a very different type of you, you've decided to try and make some friends. You hang around in the taverns, you find little gambling halls, you make as many friends as possible, buying drinks, chatting, telling them about all sorts of adventures. Unfortunately, about your drinking buddy Tobias, things... Oh, no, not without any of your friends, things get a little crazy. You have fuzzy memories of one of the nights in the week of doing something very illegal. You remember a horse being involved. You remember breaking glass. You found yourself with a little bit extra pocket change. You don't really remember what you did, and definitely didn't make any lasting friends. Whoever you spent the night with, you can no longer find in the town.
Oh, that's a great sign.
And as you spend money to find out a little bit more about rumors, the guard Biffon knows you're responsible. And knows that the slight drunken chaos on the weekend was caused by a dark elf who was drunkenly boasting about escaping a horrifying regime. And there was a horse stolen at some point. It was slightly less important. Now, luckily for you, seemingly not many people know what a dark elf is here. You're quite removed from the rest of the world. But definitely the conversation is that this guard is looking for a dark elf, and he's going around asking. And that's that. As the next week continues, hey, Aelnor, can you give me a perception check?
Yep.
So you remember when you said that Virik isn't dumb, and then you proceeded to say nothing about telling Beruit or Aelinor about the guard that was on your tail for something that you did.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, look, okay, he's gonna make the context first, so that he'd have like a solution. Now he's nope.
Luckily, Aelinor has good eyes.
Aelinor has good eyes, has good ears. She ends up hearing while healing people one night that a guard is looking for a dark elf thief. And you can tell, especially when it's described that like he flipped off the edge of a building to escape being captured and things like that. There's really no doubt in your mind of who you're looking for.
All right. Well, I have that information.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to do anything with it now, or shall I do Tobias's pit fighting?
Nah, I think I'm hold on to it for now.
Okay, good.
Mama Bear's got something planned. A very stern talking to, I hope.
Tobias is going to keep pit fighting.
If there's one thing that Aelinor and Beruit fully agree on, it's that Virik is an irresponsible child.
Actually, I do want to have a conversation with Beruit about this if I could after the pit fighting.
Yeah, exactly. You'd hear about it near the end of the week because this happened at the end of the week.
I have to go talk to your father about this.
To make it even better, Tobias,
I actually might be his father.
You're 200 and so, aren't you?
224.
He's only just about 100, or are you less than that?
No, I'm I was 144 when we started.
It's Vale who's just 100.
I'd be 145
It's always
now.
like the cusp. Because I always made the reference here that Vale's older than me and my father. I was like, maybe.
But like,
in this context, yeah.
Yeah.
He was being, so yeah.
Beruit is your father now. That's.
It would be incredibly unlikely for an elf your age to be a father, but the fathering instincts are very natural to Beruit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, to be fair, mountain elves don't quite live as long. It's not that unreasonable for me.
Yes. For a mountain elf, this would be you know, your parents would be like, why haven't you given us a daughter yet? A granddaughter.
Yeah, luckily Berwick doesn't have any family left, so there's that.
Well, exactly.
But, you know.
And most mountain elves don't.
Yes. The
So
mothers
what's
would be questioning it, but
what's
they
great? To make this week even worse, Tobias just loses every fight he gets into.
Oh, no.
He's just like a bloody mess. And he's like, you should see the other guy. And like every time, like he's just doing garbage and makes no money and just ends up losing money this week.
How much money did he lose?
No more than you would have spent on food and drink
Cool.
and stuff.
Okay,
He didn't
that's
lose extra money, he just didn't gain
sad.
money. But he's
Because, like,
hemorrhaging
I
money
gotcha.
because he
I
has to
gotcha.
eat.
Yeah.
And now buy
My plan was to
salves
be,
and things.
My plan was to be at least somewhat. My plan was to spend the first week getting money, so I could spend the second week making contacts, so I could do the third week finding out about the dude, and then once the job's out of the way, I'm like,
but that
and then,
absolutely
But no.
not how it's gone.
no.
Okie
I
dokie.
had plans. Okay, I wanted to be smart.
That's not how D&D
We all
works.
have such high aspirations. Berwick chose the safe choice of just spending 1,200 gold and sitting in a room.
That's a good point.
Sitting in a room with a devil.
Yeah. Hey, he's good conversation.
Oh, neither of you are talking to each other as you're just sitting there writing books.
Yeah, exactly. Good conversation.
So, at the start of the third week, what's
I didn't
going
want to have
on?
a conversation.
Yeah.
Please
Oh.
do.
So I would just tell Barut what happened and what I found out about Varric committing crime.
Berwick's
I would
gonna
ask what he wants to do about it. And then I would ignore that, whatever he says, and state that I think we should just let him get caught and spend a little bit of time behind the jail cell.
I actually don't disagree. If there's one
Like,
thing
I
you and
think-
I agree on, it's that Varric needs to learn to be more responsible.
Right. My concern is that he hurt somebody while being taken in. But I'm not concerned about getting him out. I think we have enough holes in the city to get him out.
Do you want me to handle that in terms of him not hurting anybody?
Yes.
Okay. And Berwick's gonna immediately use sending and
Yeah.
message Varric and say, turn yourself in. They know it's you. Better for you to go in. We can get you out. It will save a lot of trouble.
Yeah, at least
figuring out
Varric knows the limitations of the spell.
Yeah, I've explained it to other people on the other
It's
end of
not
the
like
line.
other NPCs who just cut out at some point.
Yeah. Should never use
It's
sending.
just one guard who has it out for me. I may have stolen from someone who pulled a favor. I don't have much left. I
I love watching you squirm, not knowing that I'm just going to use sending again.
Exactly, yeah.
Continue squirming, please.
I don't know. The best part was I was about to say on my way to you.
He's coming to us.
Okay.
So I
have to
would.
go get the guard, I guess.
I'm not going to use sending again. If he's coming to us, we can just. I mean, we could just turn him in ourselves. But that
Yeah,
might
I
be
suppose.
hard. He might feel betrayed.
There's
You might feel
also
betrayed with that, and I feel like it would lose the effect of like actual punishment if we were the ones doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna you stay here and wait for him. I'll go get the guards.
All right. Fair enough.
Varric, you
okay.
easily find your way to their tavern. You'd be there while Aelenor's gone. You know exactly where it is. You've been spending a little bit of time in a much nicer establishment, of course.
Thank goodness you didn't prepay for those next 2 weeks, because we're probably leaving you in jail for the next 2 weeks.
See, there's a little
You're
issue there.
saving 48 gold. It's fine.
You're forgetting Varric can blink to anywhere he can see in 30 feet.
fuck. He's right.
We'll just put you back in there.
We will. I mean, to be fair, we should get the guards and then have the conversation with them, essentially saying they won't be able to hold him, but we want them to try anyways. Just don't try fighting him.
But
he would be able to hurt them.
Varric would explain what happened. First of all, he'd explain what happened.
Yes.
Then he would explain what his original plan was.
Then he'd explain what he doesn't remember happening due to a drunken night out.
That he would explain that he doesn't know what happened then when he was trying to make contacts, and then he would explain that his original plan was make money, make contacts to find the dude, and then have a week to figure out issues like weapons and go for this was his original plan.
Do you know,
obviously, it's not worked out that way.
Do you know where the best place to discover information about the underbelly of a city is?
I have an idea. Don't tell them that I can do the poof thing. I have an idea.
Oh, is that idea to go to jail like you should for the crimes that you committed and then learn about the underbelly of the city in the jail like I just tried to explain to you was the best place to do that?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad
But
we're
I
on the
also
same page.
I can also at night go research more stuff and then come back and poof back into the jail.
Yes, assuming you can see inside of the cell.
That's a good point.
You'll have to look at the type of... I don't begrudge you that. I think it's a plan. I think you should maybe stick to the jail for your learning, because it might also teach you what that looks like if you get caught in a really bad situation and they know about your abilities and are able to trap you in a jail, so that will actually hold you.
That's true.
You should learn what that looks like, just in case. And it will get that guard off your back. If you jump in and out, there might be word about someone moving around and jumping in and out. Puts more risk on you. I don't want to see you getting hurt here. I've seen enough people get hurt. And I've
Okay.
enough people. I can't have your death on my conscience as well.
Okay.
And you're going to be finding out as much information as you can. You're going to be doing what you need to. And if it makes you feel any better, I'll make you a strong coffee when you're back.
Yeah, I'm just not looking forward to going back in the cage.
I know. But it's 2 weeks. Not your life.
Okay.
And here. And he's gonna pull out one of his water skins and pour the rest of the mountain elf cider into it. And I'm gonna hand it to Varric. And I'm gonna say, for while you're in there.
Okay, and he's gonna hide that away.
It will make it much more tolerable, I promise.
Around that time, Aelnor can come upstairs with like 2 or 3 of the town guard. Didn't manage to find Biffon, but doesn't really matter. Who was like, well, thank you very much for your report, Lady Aelnor. Would you mind coming with us, Mr. Varric?
Varric will go with her. He won't really say much.
Manacle you up.
Barud is going to walk over to Varric and just put his hand on his shoulder and just say, just one moment before he goes, if that's all right.
They not, considering this is like a peaceful being brought in, they're being pretty comfortable. Plus they know you guys now.
Yeah. You won't be alone in there. There will be people who are terrifying, people who have done horrible things. There will be pirates. There will be common criminals. There will be people who don't even know why they're there. But you won't be alone. I'm going to check in on you every day. Okay.
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 We have connections in the city. We're gonna make sure nothing happens to you.
Where?
And you'll be out before you know it. All right.
But do try to learn something from this.
Learn as much as you can from it.
Well, there.
They bring you away to the town prisons. They put a bag over your head to bring you down. You walk for quite a long time, being pulled by the manacles. Whatever organization this prison has seems to have strange, twisting tunnels that are clearly underground. You, being a drow, can tell the difference between the echoing footsteps in an underground chamber to an above-ground chamber. Plus the kind of slight dripping of dampness. The whole Palamaro, every morning the sea breeze comes in and the sun usually beats away the wetness, but when you're underground, that's where all the moisture's kind of soaked in. So wherever you visit, it has a constant sort of damp, slightly moldy smell. When the bag is taken off your head, you are put into a very simple stone cell. Some of it's stone, some of it's a very compacted dirt. There's a couple of like tree roots that twist into your cell. The bars are metal, and you can kind of reach a hand through, but you could easily see through for blinking if you chose to escape. And you can't see anything on the opposite side. It's just this kind of very decrepit stonework. But you can hear other prisoners down here. You can hear people who are sort of like banging on the cells a little bit. You hear a kind of laughing on the cell next to you, and when the guards leave you alone and you peek, it's a gnoll, a hyena man, in the cell next to you, who's near constantly chattering and giggling.
Oh god.
And it gets infuriatingly on your nerves, and the smell of mold and petrified water and the stone here isn't that bad. There's a kind of rotten flesh smell that comes from the fur of the unwashed gnoll that is disturbing and only seems to grow a little stronger as the gnoll, as the days pass, kind of gnaws at itself a little bit. But you are actually usually shackled to one of the cell walls with a chain. But you have enough room to walk around the cell. You don't have anything other than a chamber pot, and they do feed you. Usually some kind of bread. Occasionally you might get a bit of cheese or an apple or something. But you're fed. You're warded. It's unpleasant. It's underground. But...
Okay, so couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the shackle to the wall. If I blink, does that come off?
Yeah.
Because then I have to worry about getting it back on.
Yes. There is
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah, the getting it back on is the problem. This I'm not for the other guy, other actual people's thing. Varric is not planning to leave the jail now. He just wants to make it easy to talk to people.
Yeah. We can give you a role to try and make friends in the prison in a bit. Why don't
I think he also probably would try to find a way to unlock the shackle, not to like escape, but so he can put it back on easily if needed.
Okay.
Just to be more comfortable.
Why don't we quickly swoosh over to Aelinor, who I assume is going to keep healing people.
Yeah.
Give me a persuasion roll. You don't really get any more fame or favors or anything as this week goes by. You definitely always find more people who are in need of healing. The plague is not eradicated, and at this point it's really trying to help as many people as possible. Occasionally you're not just healing the sick, you're doing the occasional good deed that's needed, saving cats from trees, that kind of thing. But Aenor's allergic, so it's very unpleasant. You actually hear occasionally about the goings on in the forests outside being Northerners, you and Tobias would be quite happy to hear about, you know, the forest folk and the trappers who come in. Apparently, something strange has been going on with the nearby ogres. They've been getting more aggressive. But they're ogres, so it doesn't really surprise you, but it apparently surprises the people here. But other than that, you don't really get anything super exciting.
Okay.
Every day I'm obviously going to be sending to Vieric.
Are you?
Just to touch base. Yes.
Yeah.
And then one day a week, I'm actually going to go in and sit with him and play cards for a bit with Vieric.
Okay, well, first of all, why don't we do Vieric's trying to make friends thing, and seeing if you can... it would be a sleight of hand to see if you can work out how this mechanism works, and if you can remove it when you want to. And then a regular persuasion or deception or intimidation to make friends with prisoners. Okay. Any of them can work, really.
I think I'd probably go with deception, honestly.
It depends on the prisoner, really.
So first of all, obviously can't get that off. So
yeah, you can't work out a good way to...
Can't get that back on, so I'll leave it
to
on.
get it back on. That's not really a thing you're specialized in. You're usually getting out of shackles. And then please give me a deception. Here's a question. Would you try and talk to the Gnoll?
At first, probably.
Whenever you talk to it, it doesn't seem to necessarily understand and does bark back in its own little language. It's clearly more than just barking. You can occasionally hear words in it.
Yeah.
But whatever he's saying, you don't understand. You aren't always in that cell. Are usually around about once, maybe twice a day. The guards will take you out to a slightly larger area. It's all underground, but it is essentially... you know in prisons where they have kind of like an inset room to kind of, you can stretch your legs, you can maybe play ball with some other prisoners and things, maybe eat something that someone smuggled and stuff like that, where you start to make a good few friends, actually, a good few people, you know, you just get along with the criminal element quite well.
Yep.
You end up making friend with a swashbuckler who was arrested for he claims he didn't do it. It's just a huge coincidence that his captain died as he got into port, and the ship tried to leave very quickly. And that sort of those sort of individuals, but that's really the core friend, him and his group of little friends.
Okay.
The people down here, interestingly enough, 'cause it's not the whole prison all at once, you get not that many halflings, but there's a couple. I mean, most of the population in the town is halfling. It's mostly humans, half-orcs, and then monstrous races. It seems, unlike most places you've been, monstrous races aren't necessarily unallowed in this town, and they will merely arrest them, like the Gnoll, and you definitely meet a goblin, who you recognize as being the goblin that ran away from the cavern. He doesn't necessarily recognize you in this context, but you know, a small, big-eared goblin who's just he actually has become a friend of Dumas, who is the swashbuckler, because goblins are submissive by nature and have just been he's kind of been bullied into being the servant of this guy. Yeah, it's interesting, even in this unpleasant place. Old brute, you can come in, and they this is one of those things where straight up the guards will be like, well, we don't usually allow this, but considering he went in willingly and he's been a model prisoner, and
I'm also here to make sure that anyone here who might still have lingering aspects of the plague, that I will cure them as well. I may not be able to do it all in one trip, but I want to make sure that we don't have any, and especially when they come back into the community, no recontaminations or anything like that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's partially work, it's also partially, I'd like to make sure he's doing okay, especially given his history and everything. It would be best if he had a friendly face every now and then. Better for everybody.
they are more than happy to let you in. The one time you are shown to his actual prison cell, you aren't blindfolded when you go in. The prison is by the walls of the town that kind of go towards the forests, but not directly. It's below those walls, and it is deliberately been carved out to be a maze. The places where the prisoners are actually kept up is a labyrinthian maze that... Can you give me an insight roll, Mr. Brute?
Yep.
Ooh. Oh!
This is way too clever for the humans to have thought up of. They know that prisoners here might be strong enough to escape or deft enough to escape, so they've made it this labyrinthian maze with the extra levels of defenses and stuff. And it seems it almost seems like a mountain elf thing. If you're not gonna kill your enemy, you're gonna trick them and keep them in place. Yeah. This was clearly put together by a mountain elf who had the ear of the guard. And then you start to realize the more they talk about the lawmaker, who's sometimes referred to as Otto, you're like, that is definitely a mountain elf. Definitely a mountain elf who is in charge. But yeah, as you come in, you would be in that like main visitation chamber where there's a couple of other people being able to play cards.
I'm also going to try to memorize the path to Vera.
Yes.
Cell.
Yeah. I think, considering you can see where you're going and you're like a level 6 knowledge cleric, you absolutely can memorize the way to his cell.
Good. Okay. That just helps me for the next time I come to visit, so that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. But you would be in that main chamber where you can play cards and you can see some of the other prisoners and things. Because this isn't the kind of prison where visitors often come, so they're just like, well, just be here, yell if you need help. But you won't. So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They know you're competent.
Yeah. I'm also not... I wouldn't have carried my weapons or shields in here, but I'm still wearing my full armor.
Yeah.
And...
I kind of imagine so.
Still got these bad boys. Not that I can punch anything, but I can certainly grab with the best.
I can.
Yeah. I'm not worried. Yeah.
So Derek would tell you literally everything that he's been doing so far. And make sure no one was around him if he was discussing the fact that he's lying to them. But he would tell them about the goblin as well. He would also tell them about the gnoll and ask if he can cast that thing he does where he makes you able to speak to people as he leaves.
Yes. Yeah, of course. And I will, in fact, after we meet, but I want to talk to you first.
Yeah. As he leaves, so I can then use the full time to go talk to the gnoll.
How are you finding it?
Well,
Are they treating you well?
Yeah, considering.
Good. If you had gone in resisting, they wouldn't. And this prison was almost certainly designed by a mountain elf.
Yeah,
unpleasant, that. You don't want to be in one of our prisons.
I was expecting.
Yeah.
It would have been quite a long time ago, too, based on the sense of disrepair in the place. Which is, of course, partly deliberate. If it was actually really damaged, then, of course, but, like...
Yeah.
This has been here several centuries.
Yeah. And Burwitt is going to, out of his... Because he on his belt, he always has a pouch with his ink bottle in it. We're playing cards. I'm going to take one of the cards, one of the blank ones. Not blank ones, but like ones with just very little on it. And I'm just going to dip my finger into the ink pot. And I'm going to draw the map of the maze to Vieric's cell from the entrance. And,
why don't you just tattoo it on him? Isn't that what you do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I had the materials and equipment to do so, I would.
I think you easily could finagle a tattoo. This is just mostly a meme, but also I think you easily could and would one day.
For the record, if any of the characters I had ever conceived would want to do that, it would be Burwitt. 100%. You know what? If there's an opportunity to get one, I will, because it would be hilarious, and I would really like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
You would just buy that for like a gold.
Sure.
Tattoo pen.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, I'll do that when I leave. Okay, but anyways, I'm gonna do that for Vieric, and then like it's gonna be one of the ones in my hand. And while we're playing, I'm just gonna quickly sketch that out, and then I'm going to wait a moment for that one to dry. And whatever we're playing, I'm gonna. I assume we're playing Go Fish.
Yeah, you're playing. Yeah, I was assuming Go Fish as well.
Yeah, and you know, if you ask for a card, Vieric, I'm just gonna give you that one regardless. And
Okay.
and it's gonna have the ink just be as soon as it's dried. That's the card you're getting.
Yeah.
And just in case.
You're gonna be playing cards with Aelinor in like a month, and have to explain why one of the cards has a map on it.
Yep.
Oh,
I didn't bring my pens in here because I figured they've got a sharp point to them. That would be a weapon. The guards wouldn't have wanted me to bring that in, but I would have shown them. Yeah, it's just ink. Like it's fine. I'd rather keep
It's
it
for
on me.
prayer.
It's expensive. It's it's for my duties, and it's also I do draw a little bit of ink onto a patient's forehead when they're getting cured for the process. So it's this whole thing. I need it anyways. Yeah. But then, as we're about to leave, I'll cast Tongues on Vieric, and I will head out of the prison and go back to writing a book.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I would then go try and talk to the Knoll.
You go back to your cell, and you actually notice the Knoll is kind of muttering to itself. It's always been muttering to itself. It's been annoying hearing it constantly. But going there, you can hear the word. You can hear all the words it's saying as the magic kind of flows through you. And you can tell he's telling jokes.
I'm just putting it up there for audience.
Okay.
Sorry.
Like, as you go, it's like, you ever hear the one about the papers? Never mind, it's terrible. But, like, it's not... It's a very strange process.
I'm so mad at you right now.
What do you want about?
That was brilliant. Well, I would speak up immediately, just saying, like, hi, sir, I can talk to you now. Only for an hour.
Oh!
I have a friend who
I can
casts a
understand
spell.
you! I can understand. Yeah. It kind of, like, pokes its snout out of the bars, which is all it can really fit. That like, rotten smell is much stronger now.
Yep.
It's like, I can understand you. From the dark one. That's interesting.
Yeah, magic. It's weird. Anyway, I just wanted to say hi and, like, ask why you're in here and see if we can chat.
Oh, people say I'm crazy. I think everyone else is crazy. I think no one else has a sense of humor. Hey, I got a question for you.
Okay.
How many apples grow on a tree?
A lot. I don't know.
All of them, yeah.
Touche. And he will fake laugh. And I will try and.
This is a thing of note. This Knoll has never been let out of the cage.
Yeah. But I would also keep trying to push him, see if I can get out of him exactly what.
You can give me a persuasion check.
Persuasion, it's only +2. It's only a 9.
It's constantly twisted back to jokes.
Okay.
It's constantly twisted to things that are slightly related. It's like he'll just change what he's talking about mid-topic. Can you give me an insight check?
Ooh, okay. It's a -1. Let's go.
You might get a good roll. Nope.
You did not get a good roll.
This guy really just likes jokes.
I could swear we ran in. No, I don't know if
I don't think you've ever met Knolls before, but Knolls are
Knolls. I'm trying to remember if our group has run into who I think this guy may have either met or have.
I don't think your group has.
No, I don't think so. Unfortunately, so yeah, I don't know.
Now the interesting thing is, now that when that cast wears out, he you know, the tongues only last an hour, and you get actually quite polite conversation. You will actually get a name from him. He calls himself Grok. In fact, he calls himself Grok Shareth, which is a bit weird. Usually monster creatures don't have a last name, but he does. And I imagine when in the morning Barut casts Sending, you might have something to talk about.
Yeah, I would definitely explain what happened with that. I also would, if there's like anytime I get a chance to talk to the guards away from the knoll, I'd ask what the knoll was
Okay,
in
well,
for.
you would definitely talk to Barut first with Sending.
Yeah.
Yep. So in Sending, I'd just ask, did you get use out of the spell that you needed?
Yes and no. The knoll is eccentric and avoids talking about how he got in, but still useful. And I'll just leave it at that.
Eleanor. He said something about a knoll being useful?
I would say the name. Grok Shareth is his name.
Named Grok Shareth? Perhaps we can get more information on him.
Okay.
He appears to be using his time.
I also wouldn't say knoll, I'd say the hyena person, because I don't know what a knoll is.
You probably wouldn't know Knoll. You might.
Barut would say knoll.
Barut and Aelinor would. I guess
Okay.
Varric has not spent a lot of time on the surface to hear about gnolls. They're much more a southern thing, because they're a warm weather monster. But
Barut probably would have told me when I said I want to speak to the hyena person.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I was thinking about going down to the prison and asking whoever's in charge there if we can have Varric freed for community service, maybe taking down those ogres that are causing problems from the city vendors.
Not be a bad plan.
Because obviously he could break out, we could break him out, but if he could serve time and then, earn his freedom, that would be preferable.
He's been a model prisoner from what I've seen. He hasn't caused any trouble, or they wouldn't have let me visit with him. We just played cards, but that prison is built by a mountain elf. It's old. It's older than most mountain elves live, to be perfectly honest. It's odd. Otto, the name of that lawmaker, I think he's one of my people.
Okay.
Probably an old one. Those are rare. The only other old mountain elf I know is my old master at the clergy, and he's... Oh.
Why is that?
460? Many reasons. We have our purpose in life, and when that purpose is done, we cease to be needed, and we cease to be. You've heard of fading. Yes?
Have I heard of fading, Ollie?
You wouldn't listen to elves long enough to hear about it. You generally wouldn't. Neither of the Northmen do, even though you had like elves in your town.
I know that dye on clothes fades over time. I'm familiar with the word.
Well, much in the same way that dye in clothes fades over time, an elf's soul fades too, along with its body. When we die, we wither. And mountain elves don't last nearly as long as other elves. We carry our people with us, our history with us, our purpose with us. When that is gone, the guilt is all that is left. Not doing more, not being more, not helping enough. Not feeling like we can be what we were meant to be, what we feel we still are meant to be.
It feels like maybe you put too much meaning into your purpose, right? That it's literally killing you.
My purpose is my purpose. That's not something I personally put a lot of meaning into. It's a deal I made a long time ago, and I will continue to do that as long as I live. No, what weighs on me, as for many mountain elves, is the loss of community, the loss of the people, the loss of loved ones, the loss of friends. And, well, there's a lot of that in the mountains.
I can understand that. I have lost much. And I've had to find something else to live for.
That's why I treat you like family. You and Virik and Tobias. Brothers and sisters in arms, sure. Tobias and Virik more like children than you or I, certainly, but nevertheless, family. I haven't had family for over 150 years. That's when my mother and sister passed.
That sucks.
Yes, it does. But that's why I like communities so much. That's why I study culture so much. I get to see people. See them for the love that they have for each other. Even if that community isn't necessarily one known for love, you get to see the connections that every living thing makes. That's why it makes it hard for me to judge a community. Why I have hesitations about killing goblins, and I know that you have your reasons, and I don't begrudge you them. But I see beings in existence, all part of this universe, all part of this world together. I see them. I see a collective purpose to live on this earth, whatever continent they may be on, to live together and to strive forward to be better and to be a collective, a whole. It's part of the reason why it bothers me so much, those monks wanting to bring back the primordials. Destroy all of that community, life.
Well, that won't happen.
No, it can't.
And I hope that you continue to find purpose and continue to find love in this world, because I would hate to see you go. But for now, let's go get early child back.
Think Tobias has recovered enough to help us with this, or do you think he should just stay on the bed?
I think he needs some time.
You can hear him through the floorboards going like, I need another beer.
We should.
I've decided not to heal him from this endeavor.
No, and this is the thing. Brewing is not doing. This is the children need to learn their lesson episode. That's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, like, definitely a conversation be like, usually I'd wake up, I wouldn't be bruised. Now I'm just covered in bruises.
What's happened?
What's going on? Something's in the water.
Yeah. Oh, I must not be fully healed. I should talk to Eleanor and Bruin about this. Maybe
All
the
right.
plague's not gone.
We're gonna take a break.
Thank goodness
and
I
continue.
really have to use the washroom.
Yeah, but you just kept talking.
Yeah, well, it was important. To me, anyway.
So is proper toilet breaks. So
Yeah.
we'll be back in a couple of minutes. See you soon.